welcome back to the POPCAST. If you're new here, my name is Alicia. This is the podcast that I have created for my honors project. Well, at least it's starting out. Maybe we'll continue on after I get this project done, where I'm talking about all things popular music and popular culture and how those two are connected, how they influence each other, all that kind of stuff. Very broad. But I kind of talk about things that are going on in the music industry, things that are, things have changed, some like trends, just different things like that. I have 4 other episodes. Sorry, I'm recording this before I upload the 4th, and I just uploaded the 3rd episode today. I have 4 other episodes. I have an intro episode, where I talk about genre, and maybe how the use of like labeling things on genre maybe is declining. And I have an episode where I talk about TikTok and its rise and how it's affecting the music industry. And then I also have an episode where I talk about kind of being a more independent artist versus being like more of a mainstream, going with the bigger label kind of stuff. So if those interest you at all, feel free to check out those other videos there actually on my channel. I said actually because when I was recording all those other 4 episodes, I had no idea where those episodes were going to be uploaded. It was still kind of like, they'll be somewhere. But yeah, we decided to upload them on YouTube. So if you click on my name, if you're listening to this on YouTube, my little channel name, they'll all be there for you. If you're listening on the Falcon Media website, they should be posted to kind of around each other as well. They're up because this is also cross-posted on the BG Falcon Media website, so I'm not sure where you're listening to it, but they should be pretty easy for you to find. But yeah, so after this episode, if you like what you hear, or here's what I also have to say, go check out those other episodes, and there will be a couple more episodes after this one as well. So feel free to subscribe, so you can check out the rest of those podcast episodes. But yeah, so yeah, if you couldn't tell, I keep this kind of chill. I'm still figuring this out. Keep it like a conversation, even though it's what ended, but you can always, reach out to me, and continue the conversation. But yeah, so today I want to, of course, continue our conversation about popular music, but I want to kind of take a step into, maybe perhaps why we listen to music, why we listen to what we do, and that kind of stuff. Because I feel like that's a very popular topic, when we talk about music. You'll always have to know, why are you listening to what you're listening to? So, like, when people, like, ask you, oh, why do you like the music you listen to? Or like, why do you listen to that? Or what, like, why do you like that song? Or, like, you like that band or whatever? You might be stuck, or you might not be quite sure what to say, but you like it, and you aren't quite sure why you do, but you're drawn to it for some reason, growing up, I was like, I just really like it, for a while I was just like, oh, I like the sound or whatever, whatever, I like their lyrics, I like listening to it, I like the sound, I put it on and I listen to it, and yeah, there might not be a specific reason why you're listening to it. You may not, at the time you didn't know. I know I for sure didn't know. I was like 12, and I was like, oh, I like listening to One Direction, I like listening to Little Mix, I like listening to Taylor Swift, and as I was listening to other artists, I like listening to them, they tell people like talking about these artists, and I listen to them and I like them, but as I grew older and I started learning about music, I started like really deeping in, I just like combining 3 different words there, delving in to lyrics, and the process behind making music and listening to things. I was like, oh, there's definitely other reasons why I like this. And I kind of just started, thinking about things and looking into artists, and thinking about, why am I listening to to this band, or why am I listening to this song or this style? And I was kind of more able to vocalize and put into words, or think about why I was listening to them. I might not be able to fully, like, if you ask me, like, why do I listen to Palais Royale, I probably wouldn't be able to, like, fully tell you, but I can give you some reasons. It might not make any sense, but I could tell you. you don't know who they are, they're this band that I've been obsessed with and loved since I was like 17. And so if any of my friends or family are listening, they're probably like, yes, we know you like them. But yeah, and I'm actually, as I'm recording this, I'm seeing them live in, like, let's say 27th. I'm recording January 27th. I'm seeing them live on February 19th. So, like, I don't know, what's it, like, 22 days or something? 23? Something like that. But, yeah, off track. I do that a lot. This is your first time listening. I get off track quite a bit. But yeah, I know I can't tell you why I like water parks. Like, I can literally, like, it's like, okay, it's like I'll be like listening to a song by one of my favorite bands, or watching a video or something related to them, and I'll just like start like freaking out and like being like making all these like weird sounds, or like being like like I'm trying to tell like people, or like why like people like my friends or whatever will like watch me do this, and like they like what, but like that's like, but like I'm having like, I don't know, this makes no sense, but like there's a reason why I'm reacting that way. There's a reason why I'm drawn to it, and that's kind of, and that's okay. Can I can I talk? And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. That there are reasons behind why we listen to what we listen to. There's hold on, I think. There are reasons why we're listening to what we're listening to. There are certain reasons why we continue to listen to certain things, and yeah. Needless to say, in this episode, I'm going to be delving into why people are drawn to certain things. Why music has an effect on people, what that effect is, some of the reasons why people like certain music, why people are drawn to certain music. And kind of how over the years, like, it just hasn't changed. Things have stayed the same. Some research into like ages when like our music tastes are kind of developed, and that kind of stuff. I'm gonna kind of heavily focusing on the emotional response to things, just because that's something that I have always been very fascinated with, and there's a lot of research done into that. But of course, there are so many other reasons why we are drawn to music, and why we're drawn to certain artists and things. Like, there's definitely other reasons. There's definitely, and there's always some very like personal things, and like there's always certain people or bands that you listen to because they played a special part of your life, or they were there from like time you were really little, and there's someone you've always listened to, or like they helped you get through something specific, or you have a connection with like a family member or a friend or whatever. But there's all those like individual, like really personal things. But I'm kind of a very broad aspect because it is popular culture. It's very broad, and popular music's very broad. But of course, if you want to like comment about why you listen to certain music, why you listen to certain artists or whatever, feel free to. I'm always open to learning about those sort of things. Music to me is very fascinating, and why people like certain bands or artists are something very fascinating to me, even if I don't personally like them. I like learning why people like stuff. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with some of the topics today. So if that interests you at all, feel free to stay tuned. Feel free to listen. Feel free to share your thoughts and everything. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and delve into it. I'm putting a pause there so it's easier for when I edit it. I have some notes next to me. I think there's like one or two articles I will link down below that kind of talk about some of the topics that are gonna be easier for you guys to listen to, read, and understand. Not easier, but like things where I got some of this information from. Like there'll be articles linked down below if you want to research any of this stuff yourself. I think I'm gonna post some stuff that I've also used in my previous episodes, because they relate. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just saying, if I'm able to find the things that where I read certain things, I will put them in the description for you all to check out. But yeah, I guess where I want to start is kind of, let's start with like how our music tastes are shaped, right? If you listen, oh my god, I just bumped the mic. I don't know if you heard that. If you listen to my previous episodes, I kind of talked about how my music taste has kind of changed over the years. I talked very briefly, but I will maybe give you guys a little bit of a more, not detailed, but like a more better talk of, in, I don't know, history of my music taste. So I said in the first episode, music has always been a big part of my life, right? I grew up dancing. I danced from the time I was 4 till I graduated high school. I played the viola from the time I was in 5th grade until I graduated high school. So obviously music heavily involved in dance, music heavily involved with the viola. I played music. And I'd say like I really started heavily like becoming like a music listener when I was like probably about 12. I like listened to the Disney artists and stuff on the radio and stuff. Before that, like Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez. I'm still a Selena Gomez fan. She was like my girl on Disney. Jonas Brothers, like Big Time Rush, stuff like that. Like I would listen to that stuff, but like right around the time One Direction got big was when I like started becoming a big music person. Fell in love with One Direction. In the 6th grade and 7th grade, like, that summer was very big into like I became a One Direction fan. I listened to them. I listened to Little Mix. I found them through One Direction. Ed Sheeran was starting to get big. I became a big Ed Sheeran fan. Taylor Swift, her Red album was coming out, and I like became obsessed with Taylor Swift again. So like those were like my main 4 artists, and then I had a friend at the time who also like we together became obsessed with those. Those were like our things. Thinking back to that time, is like I think about 7th grade and that being like a defining year as far as like my interests. Because like that year while I was discovering my love of music, I also kind of like fell in love with reading. I became like obsessed with reading. Like I was reading all the time. I was like constantly checking out books at the library. I was keeping track of what I was reading. Like somebody like 7th grade was like the year where I was like, yes, this is my thing. It was also around the time kind of was like, yeah, I kind of want to be a journalist. Like I was like, entertainment journalism sounds fun. I was like, I kind of like switched from like being like wanting to be a teacher to like I want to write. Like around that time. Side note, but I think about 7th grade is like a really good year in my life. Yeah. 8th grade not so much. 7th grade was great. But yeah. So 7th grade, fell in love with One Direction, all that stuff, and then I kind of just started exploring music. Like I was thinking back to like all these bands and stuff that I would like remember hearing their songs on the radio when I was like in elementary school, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're up to, and I would research it. Like I was listening to The Fray, The Script, One Republic. Who else? I was like just randomly like pulling up people and finding people and listening to them. I was finding like just random songs that I remember listening to or being on the radio and like adding them to like this like sketchy music app on my iPod, and like I mean like I'd get an iTunes gift card, it'd be gone in 2 seconds. Like it was just music was like I was just trying to consume all of this, right? I was like, and then like 5 Seconds of Summer, I was like, so they got like we're on tour with One Direction, so like I was looking into them, and so I was like, yes, and now like they're adding on to the thing. I became like obsessed with like learning about music and like learning about these bands and people who were these artists that I loved, right? So I was doing all that. I was consuming all the music, and it's like that was kind of like my thing. Like I was kind of like I didn't really have a taste. Like I was like I like pop. I don't know, like indie. Like I don't know. I was just consuming all this music. I was friends up on Spotify. Like I listened to EDM at one point. All this stuff, and so like that was my like thing. I would like find random albums that I liked. I found like Sam Smith. I would like, yeah, I was Sam Smith. I was listening to Charlie XCX. I was who else? Ingrid Michaelson. Like if I would like find a song like they would use like one of my dance classes, I was like, oh, I like that song, and I'd go research it, like listen to it or whatever. So all this stuff. And like it was somewhat still what was popular or like on the radio. Like that was definitely where I found a lot of stuff. They listened to Ariana Grande, and like I would just like research and stuff on my phone, and I'd watch YouTube, the YouTubers, and they'd have playlists on Spotify, and I'd like try and listen to them, and so it was just random stuff. And then once I hit about 15, 16, maybe more 16, I think like end of sophomore year into junior year was like where my music tastes like shift of like high school. Sorry, I kept to clarify because like might be thinking about college, of high school. One Direction announced their hiatus because they're on hiatus. So like fun fact, they actually performed for the last time together on my 16th birthday. Still not over it. Like they went on hiatus. Five Sauce were still a thing, but like they weren't really making music. Like they had done like I went and saw them on tour, and then like they were kind of like on a hiatus. So I was kind of just like floating in this middle of like my two favorite bands. Like they weren't doing much, right? And so I was just like again like finding random music, and I had always been curious, right, about like pop punk and like rock and like all this stuff. Like there's always like something there, right? There's always like I'm interested in this. Like I like would hear people talk about them, or like I would see the names and stuff, and I'd be like I'm curious, right, about this stuff. And then I would start listening to something like I would like State Champs. I was like, oh, they're like touring with Five Sauce, so like I'll listen to them. All Time Low, like they're an influence of Five Sauce, so like I'll like listen to them, and like stuff. And then right towards the start of my junior year of high school, my friend at the time had asked me if I wanted to go to this concert with her, because I'd taken her to a couple shows. She was like, do you want to go to this concert with me? And it was Sleeping with Sirens were the headliners, and then these couple opening bands. It was Waterparks, Tonight Alive, and State Champs. They were all opening for them. They're going this tour, and I was like, didn't know anyone but State Champs. Didn't even really know the headliner. I was like, well, I like State Champs, so sure, I'll check them out. Sure, I'll go with you. Like whatever. Ended up being like we got VIP. I got to meet like Sleeping with Sirens. This the whole thing. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I started listening to Sleeping with Sirens, and then I fell in love with Waterparks. Like Waterparks is still one of my favorite bands, and I was like, oh, they're really cool. I like Tonight Alive, and then just floodgates were open, and it was like I am now gonna consume all of this stuff. So I like delved deep into pop punk, punk rock, metalcore, emo, like all that stuff. Like I was like, yes, this is my thing, and that's like kind of where I've been right since then. I was like this is something that I jive with. This is something that I connect with. Like there's something here. There's something about this music that like I'm drawn to and I like and I'm connecting with. I'm like this is it. This is my stuff. And that's where I've been since. So like that was like something really interesting, and like something about that, like that's been like I think I've been stuck with the longest with like this stuff of music. I'm constantly finding new artists in this world that I'm loving in this realm of music, and there's just something about that music that I'm connecting with, and it's hard for me to explain, but there's something there. What? Sorry, there's stuff going on in my roommate's group chat. Okay, so I don't know if that made any sense at all, but that's kind of like where my music taste developed from. And there's a reason I tell you all that, right? There's always a reason why I tell you this guys stuff, right? And in this article I was reading, it kind of talks about, you know, when our music tastes are shaped, right? And it says that students listen to the same music as their peers. So, when certain things are popular or certain things that your friends are listening to, there's probably a good chance that you're gonna listen to it, right? I talked about like how my friends at the time, like when my music taste like kind of shaped with One Direction, and then with the Sleeping with Sirens stuff. I was influenced definitely by friends because I had someone to talk about with the music. There's like, oh, they're also listening to it, so I had that bond, right? And music choices made during a certain time. I don't know. And also says like ages 20 to 25 is when your music tastes are defined more permanently. So right around college is when this article is saying that music tastes are more defined, right? That's when like what we're listening to is kind of gonna be what we're kind of be around to, and I definitely do see that. I definitely don't necessarily disagree or agree with it, because I feel like a lot of music that I listen to now is definitely music I'm gonna stick with. Music I listened to when I was 16, I think I'm gonna stick with, and I feel like it probably is different for everyone, but I definitely do think like during like big changes or times in your life, what you're listening to, it's kind of gonna be something you stick with, right? When I was 16 was when I like really got into like the pop punk stuff and rock and all that. That's definitely a big time, like getting your license, you're learning how to drive. That's when like you start thinking about college and like what you want to do, like, right? And that music, I discovered that music during that time, so I'm definitely listening to it. And like when you're 20, they're like halfway through college, and then you're graduating college, like 2025, like that's a really weird time of your life, right? Like you're in college, or maybe you're starting your career, depending on what path you choose. Maybe you're trying to decide what you want to do with your life, what you want to do, and then you graduate college like 22, 23, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, and then like you're like trying to like figure out a job where you're gonna live, be on your own. And so like those are really weird defining times and like shifts in your life. And like you find music during that time, maybe you're probably gonna grow a connection to that music, right? And you're gonna want to listen to that. You're gonna like continue to listen to that music. So definitely your peers in the age and what you're going through in your life when you discover certain music is definitely gonna affect your feelings towards that certain type of music, and you're gonna like it and like listen to it more, and you connect with that music, right? Which ties nicely into the next part, which is like the main thing I want to talk about in this episode, and that's emotional responses to music, right? When I was researching this podcast, right, I told you all this is for a project, and I had to like pitch this project, like do a proposal, and I talk about what I wanted to do and like what research has been done, because this is like a kind of like a research project. So I was researching about popular music and just music in general and music trends and things, and there are just studies done, and it's like the common thing of why people listen to music is because there's an emotional response to it. Why people listen to certain music is because there's an emotional connection to it. It makes them happy, makes them sad, helps them through something, and it connects to what they're feeling, like all that stuff. And that is something that I feel like is never going to change. There's always going to be an emotional effect with music, because music is emotion driven, right? Behind every song, there's probably some sort of emotion tied to it. It's happy, it's sad, it's angry, it's frustrated, it's hate, it's thoughts, it's thinking, it's curiosity, right? There's something there. There's something behind the lyrics. There's something happened that inspired that song, and what the artist, singer, songwriter, whoever wrote it was feeling at the time inspired those lyrics. And those lyrics come across in the song, and then whoever consumes that music is going to experience similar emotions or connect an emotion to that song, connect an experience, connect something to that song, to that album, to that artist, to whatever it is, right? And that, I think, has been something around since music has started. Like, you can go back years, hundreds of years, whatever, songs, and there's emotion behind it. There's storytelling. There's this. It tells the story, shows the emotion of what was being felt was going on during the time when that song was released, when that song was written, that song was created. And that's never going to change, right? They might not always be like really deep. They might not always be like philosophical or the most. Sorry, this is gonna be something I need to unpack later. Sorry, my roommate's group chat. It's crazy. There's always good. It's not gonna be the most philosophical, right? But there's going to be something there. It could be, it could just be, I'm just happy, right? It could just be like the sun's shining, but there's still emotion because they're happy about it. So there's always like that emotion behind music, and you know what that artist is trying to convey in that song, right? But there's also something totally separate, and it's what the consumer of the music is connecting with that song, right? Right? Because someone could write the happiest song, but someone can find that song when they're like going through something really hard, and they're going to connect that emotion with that song. And it might not be like necessarily a sad emotion, but it could be that song made me happy, or that song helped me get through that tough time, or when I think of that song, I think of that period in my life, or I think about how much that song helped me. It maybe didn't make me happy, but it helped me process something, or it helped me get through that challenging time, or whatever they were going through. And so they might not completely relate to the lyrics. Like they can be something about something like really happy going on in their life, but they're not going to necessarily connect to the lyric, but the song is going to connect to what they're going through. And I think that's something very powerful about music, because not everyone gets the same thing out of a song. Right? Because I can tell you right now, there are songs out there that my interpretation is not going to match the next person's interpretation, or what I connect to with a band or an album or whatever is not going to be the same as what someone else connects with something, right? Because for someone, they could listen to One Direction and have no feeling towards it, right? They may hate it, they may just be neutral, that they have no feeling to a certain album or a song. Or I could play them a One Direction song and they'd be like, okay, this is a good song, I don't really have a feeling towards it. Or, oh, that's a good song. Or, that made me happy. But I could play a song and be like, I could think back to when that album came out, right? And what I was feeling at that time, or what I was going through, or the way I felt when I first listened to that, or I connect a certain time in my life to that song. Like, I cannot relate to any of the lyrics in that song, like whatever, but I could think about what 14-year-old Alicia was going through, or what life was like for me at that time, right? I can remember, I literally remember when Midnight Memories, that album, was released. Like, I remember, I remember the night before, like, I remember, I remember feeling like those feelings that day. I remember when May the AM came out, and I having to buy an iTunes gift card to buy the album, and or I have memories tied. I remember the feelings when I listened to certain stuff, or what I went through, or what I felt when I listened to that music for the first time. And there are artists like that for people. There are music out there that they can listen to music and they remember those certain things, right? Or they have a certain person or place or something tied to that song, and when they listen to it, it evokes that out of them. And there's also music out there that people only listen to when they're feeling a certain way, or they know they can put on that artist or that band or that song or that album or whatever, and it will put them in a good mood, or it will get them excited, it will help them work out, or it will just something they can study to, or whatever. It evokes something in them, evoke some sort of emotional response, right? And they connect with it. Like, I bet you all out there have like a song that you put on when you're like really down in the dumps. Like, you probably have a song that, like, you know, make you happy, or a song that you put on when you're sad because it's sad, and it, like, no matter what you're, like, why you're sad, that song just, it's like, yes, they get it, right? You probably all have that music out there. I know I have stuff that I put on when I'm angry, when I'm sad, when I'm happy, when I'm frustrated, when I'm stressed, right? Because to me, they're like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm going. Like, they understand, right? That band, they get it. It may have nothing to do with what's going on. Like, if I'm talking about something completely different, like they're angry for some other thing, but to you, they're like, they're angry because I'm angry, or like, yes, we're angry about the same thing. And that's the power of music, right? That is something that, like, not a lot of other mediums out there get, right? Probably have movies maybe that do the same thing. Like, people who are really into movies probably have like a movie that they put on for certain things, for certain feelings, or they want to experience something, or like they want a movie that relates to how they're feeling or what they're going through. But there is no, like, other things out there, right? Like, but music is something instant. Like, music is so accessible and so easy, and like there's so much of it out there, and there's so many different varieties out there, and so many different ways to consume it, that in a split second you can have that thing that relates to you emotionally. Like, I could leave the studio, right? I could leave the studio and all of a sudden I'm in the worst mood of my life. In 2 seconds I can have my Spotify open and playing a playlist or a song to put me in a better mood. Or is also like a sad or angry or frustrated song that matches my emotions in 2 seconds. And it can make me feel better, right? And that's crazy. Like, that's something that I've been doing since like middle school. Like, I bet you my parents are listening. They're probably be like, yes, there's so many times when she would just be in her room with her headphones on or blasting music, like, and they had no idea. I got in I got in trouble. There's 2 different instances I can think of. Just side notes. I don't know if my mom remembers me because my mom was there for both of them. But there was one time I was probably, I saw my iPod, so I probably was like 13 or 14. And I hardly ever, like, once I got like an iPod, my own iPod, and earbuds, and I found ways to like have music on my phone that was not iTunes or whatever, or like, on my iPod, I would just have earbuds in the car all the time, and I just play ridiculously loud. And I still do this, but there's no wonder I have trouble hearing sometimes. And so we're driving, I believe, to dance, and they were getting out of the car, and I have my earbuds in, and I'm not paying attention, and I open up my door, and I almost whacked my sister in the head. Well, I got in trouble because I was not paying attention. My music was so loud. There's another time. So I had to have been, I had my vinyl, so I had been 17. And I had gotten Madness by Sleeping Sirens on vinyl. And my mom were fighting for some reason, for probably something stupid. And we were fighting, and I was just angry. And so I put on the record player, and I put the record in, and I put on, I think it was Kick Me, I believe was the song. If you know Kick Me by Sleeping with Sirens, that song is just, every other word is a cuss word, specifically the F word. And my mom storms in my room. It is like, makes me turn it off, because I am blasting this song that's just full of cuss words through the house. And she was not happy about it. But, you know, at the time, I was like, I'm angry, and this song is an angry song. So it was how I felt. But needless to say, I didn't do that again. But that's what music's there for. That's what music does for people, right? It's a release, something they can connect with. I'm gonna talk about this in the form of like how concerts are, and like I'm gonna do an episode about concerts. But and whenever you consume music and you have a connection to music, if you're not really a super music person, but you are a casual consumer of music, you can't deny the fact that it evokes some sort of emotion out of you. You may not be able to describe it. Like, they're definitely like, I can't describe the way that listening to a new Palais Royale album makes me feel, right? I can't fully describe what listening to a new Water Parks album makes me feel, or what's going on in my brain, right? But I know that when I listen to it, it's just a feeling of like joy and happiness and excitement and like understanding, and just like it just, there's I like it, and I just want to keep listening to it. And there's other bands, artists that do that too, and like there's definitely people, like, it's just hard it's just hard to describe, but the feeling just never goes away, right? And it's just, I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is that you can't have music without emotion. Like, you can't create music without emotion, and you can't listen to music without having an emotion behind it. And I'm not saying every song's gonna evoke emotion. I can tell you right now, I could listen to a Justin Bieber song and probably have no emotion, because I don't like Justin Bieber, really. Like, right? Like, there's like, I don't listen to a country song and like probably have an emotion, because I just like country music. I'm like, okay, it's a country song, but there are people who could listen to that same song and it will evoke an emotion from them, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is that that's never going to change. And if you just look at the trends, and that's one thing that's going to change with popular music and popular culture, is that the discussion around emotions and music is never going to go away. Like, you're never going to be able to listen or talk about music and not talk about how emotions and feelings and stuff like that is tied to it. Like, that's one thing about popular culture and popular music, that's music gonna be that's one thing about popular culture and discussion of popular music and effect on popular culture that's never gonna go away, is emotion. Like, there's always gonna be a story or something or a feeling behind a song, and there's always gonna be something behind why someone's listening to it or how it makes them feel. And the connection, there's always gonna be those bands or artists that people connect with, and have an emotional response to. It's just not gonna change, and I'm really glad about that, right? Because I don't think I could ever listen to music and not have an emotional response to it. And, everyone's is different, right? Some people have a really strong emotional response to music, and there are some people who are just a casual listener and just like, oh yeah, they have some sort of response to it, but it's not crazy, right? Not everyone's like me and listens to like a One Direction song makes them want to cry, right? Like, but I'm not mad about that, right? I'm glad I had that response, and I'm glad I had that thing that I connect with, something that like I can go to, and something that I can use to make a career out of, right? Like, without music, I don't know what I'd be doing. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I'm just really happy I found music, and like I'm happy that I have this connection with music, and I'm glad other people have this connection with music, and I'm glad that we can have these discussions and why it hasn't changed. And it's like, of course, maybe there's been stuff that's been released, or like music that's come out, or like stuff that's coming out, or trends in music that like maybe the emotional response or emotional stories or like feelings or like stuff behind it isn't as strong. But there are definitely still out there that's really strong. But that's just, but emotion isn't going away, right? There's emotion behind that little Honey song that comes out. Like there's a story behind it, right? Or whoever wrote that little Honey song, whether or not he wrote it or not, like there's a reason, there's a story behind it, or like a feeling that he's trying to convey. Maybe it's not like something that comes happened to him, but like I want to write a song that conveys anger or heartbreak or whatever, right? There's something they're trying to convey. If they want to have a successful popular song, they have to try and convey some sort of emotion, whether that's just life is good. So I don't know. I don't know if this made any sense. This might be a really long episode. I'm really sorry. But I had a lot to say, and I don't know if this made any sense at all. But I could talk about this for hours, and if I had the ability to and the time to, I would talk about this for hours. But yeah. But yeah. Let me know what bands or artists or songs that you connect with emotionally, or you have some sort of a story to or event tied to it or something like that, because I'm really curious. Because I love learning these things about people. Oh my god. Side story. I love telling this story. Kind of. I don't know. It's not really a story, but Chloe, if you're listening, I'm going to tell one of our early friendship stories. So, it's freshman year. We're like 2 weeks in the semester, maybe at most, right? And it's become very clear, to Chloe and everyone who lives with me, that I'm a big music person, right? And so I'm talking about music, and like she cannot tell me her music taste or what artist she likes. Like she just can't. Like she can't describe like what her music taste is, and this frustrates me. So I'm like in the middle of doing homework, and I stop and I pull up Spotify, and I just was like just having her name stuff that she likes or like whatever, and I'm just trying to figure out what she likes. I spent like an afternoon trying to figure this out, coming up with what she likes and stuff. Artists she likes, telling her artists like all this stuff. Whatever. I'm trying to figure out what she likes, because it just frustrated me, right? Because to me, like, you have to know what music you like. And so I learned what she liked and stuff she did not like. And I'm sending her artist stuff that she wants to check out, she should check out and stuff all the time. I'm constantly making her listen to stuff. To this day, and whatever. And we disagree on some artists. But, yeah. And secondary thing that story is, so we're talking or whatever. And I'm a 21 Pilots fan. Especially at this point in my life, I'm a huge 21 Pilots fan. Like, Trench is getting ready to drop, and so I'm in, like, never been a bigger 21 Pilots fan at this point. And, so she told me, oh, I like music that's, like, kind of has, like, rap and stuff and whatever. And I'm like, oh, you like 21 Pilots? And she just looked me down in the face and says, no, I cannot stand 21 Pilots. It's something about them that annoys me. I don't, like, it has not changed since then. Like, her opinion has not changed about 21 Pilots to this day. And that's fine. But she knows what she likes, right? So, there's that. But yeah. So that's music. Music and emotion. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry if this was super confusing and super making no sense. But yeah. That's all I really have to say. I really appreciate you all for listening. Let me know your thoughts if you have opinions on this topic or whatever. As always, my social media links will be linked down below. My Instagram, my Twitter, my TikTok, my email, all that is down below. I will link that article where I made those stats or whatever from earlier. I'll link that article down below for you all. Feel free to share your opinions down below. As always, I just ask that you be respectful, and I'll be respectful. But yeah, I was talking before I lose my voice. But yeah, thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. And subscribe to my channel so you can know when my next episode goes live. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and share it with all your friends, because that will really help me out and help the podcast out. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to the POPCAST. I've been Alicia, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.